A traveler named Victor once lodged at a quiet roadside inn during a long journey. The place was old but orderly, the kind of inn that seemed to have existed longer than anyone could remember. After supper, he returned to his room, lit a candle, and lay back on the bed to rest, too tired to read, but not yet ready to sleep. The room was silent except for the faint crackle of the candle wick and the distant sound of wind moving along the eaves. After a while, he heard the door open. He did not see who entered at first, only the soft shuffle of footsteps. When he opened his eyes slightly, he saw a young maid walk in, as if the room were already occupied. She carried a bundle of clothes and set it carefully on the chair. Then she placed a mirror case and a small dressing box neatly on the table, arranging them with quiet precision. She neither looked around nor reacted to Victor's presence. It was as though she did not see him at all. The maid left without a word. Moments later, a young woman emerged from the inner part of the room, a woman Victor was certain had not been there before. She moved calmly to the table, opened the dressing box, and sat before the mirror. By candlelight, she began to comb her hair, slowly and methodically, as if following a ritual she had repeated many times. She fixed her hair, adjusted the pins, and studied her reflection for a long while, tilting her head from one side to the other with unnatural patience. Victor did not speak. He told himself she must be some guest secretly using the room, perhaps preparing to meet someone in private. Yet something felt wrong. The air in the room had grown colder, and the candle flame bent slightly toward her, as if drawn by an unseen current. The maid returned again, carrying a basin of water. She assisted the woman in washing her hands and face, then offered a towel with the same silent obedience. Not once did either of them acknowledge Victor's presence. When the washing was finished, the maid gathered the basin and left once more, footsteps fading into the corridor. The woman then opened the bundle. Inside were bright garments, fresh, elegant, far too fine for travel. She dressed carefully, smoothing each fold, fastening each clasp, adjusting her collar and sleeves with meticulous attention. Every motion was unhurried, deliberate, and eerily composed. She straightened her posture, glanced into the mirror one last time, and stood in silence. Victor's curiosity slowly turned into unease. Something about her movements felt rehearsed, not spontaneous, as though she were reenacting a memory rather than living in the present. Then she took out a long silk sash. Without hesitation, she threw it over the beam above. Her actions were calm, practiced, almost gentle. Victor sat upright, frozen. She tied the knot with steady hands, tested the loop, and then, with a slow, measured motion, stepped beneath it. For a moment she paused, standing on the tips of her toes. Then she slipped her neck into the loop. Her eyes shut instantly. Her brows tightened upward. Her tongue slowly extended past her lips, and her face drained of all warmth, turning pale and rigid in the candlelight. The transformation was so sudden, so precise, that it seemed less like death and more like the exact replay of a moment already sealed in time. The candle flame flickered violently. Victor screamed and bolted out of the room, nearly stumbling down the stairs as he shouted for the innkeeper. His voice echoed through the quiet building, breaking the heavy stillness of the night. The innkeeper rushed up with a lantern. They opened the door together. The room was empty. The mirror case was gone. The dressing box was gone. The bundle of clothes was gone. Even the beam above showed no trace of any sash. Only the candle remained, still burning where Victor had left it. The innkeeper stood silently for a long moment, his face growing pale in the lantern light. Then he spoke in a low voice. "My son's wife hanged herself in this room last year." He looked up at the beam. "Since then," he continued, "some guests claim they see her preparing herself before the act, as if she must repeat it again and again." Victor did not sleep that night, but what troubled him most was not the vision itself. It was a detail he could not forget. When the woman had looked into the mirror just before tying the sash, her reflection had been perfectly clear, every movement, every expression. Yet now, as he thought back more carefully, he realized something that made his skin crawl. The mirror had reflected the woman, the maid, the room, the candle, everything except him.